My name is December James. I'm the voice of the saint and sinner. I speak for followers of Christ who fall short, still show up, and still choose him. Not because we're perfect, but because he is. And this is my testimony. I want to pivot back to speaking about influence. Growing up, I was really molded by four influences. So there was the influence of home, there was the influence of the neighborhood that I was growing up in, the influence of the school I was going to, and the influence of the church, right? I would take a lot of the influence from the neighborhood into school, and that became kind of like this blended thing that really was molding me and shaping me. While Thomas Pullen was such a beautiful school to go to, I will say all of us kids being so bumped up in that school, a lot of us were into things very early that we had no business being into. I'll just keep it funky. There was a lot of promiscuity in Thomas Pullen. I won't lie. And I was exposed to things sexually at a very early age, that I had no business being involved in. But I think a part of that is, like I said, the desire for that love and that attention that I didn't feel like I was receiving from my mom. So I sought it out in girls. And the older I would get, the more I would seek that out, you know. As I'm growing up and I'm seeing different things and I'm witnessing different things, I'm drifting further and further away from the Lord, further and further away from church. And I'm drifting more into the world, more into promiscuity, and I'm starting to give place to my anger and my rage. And I remember there was a season around seventh, eighth grade where I just started to kind of want to do what I wanted to do. And it was no longer a fear of getting in trouble or discipline or reprimand. Like, it was what it was at this point, right? My eighth grade year in Thomas Pullen, we actually moved. We moved from Surrey Square, which is in Fordsville in the hood, and we moved to the beautiful suburbs of Largo, Maryland. And in moving, while I still had my friends at school, my friends in the neighborhood are now non-existent. I don't have that part anymore. And when I'm not at school, I feel alone, you know. I feel alone. It trickles into that feeling of abandonment, I'll say, because all these friends that I knew and that I had outside of school, they were gone. I never really had friends in the church because my mom and my dad didn't really encourage that part of it. You know, we didn't really hang out with other church kids outside of church. Like, in church, cool, but outside of church, just wasn't that. In school, those were my friends at school. Like, I wouldn't really see my friends at school outside of school too much. And so my friends in the neighborhood was, you know, that was the biggest influence and biggest piece of me that I had friendship wise. And so when we moved to Largo, all those friends were gone. My mom, she would encourage me like, yo, if you want to go back around the old neighborhood, you know, and spend time with your other friends, you know, you can get on the bus. I'll show you how to catch the bus around there, and you can go around there and, you know, go see your friends. I'm actually thankful in a way that I didn't do that, because While I felt alone, having that influence at that time in my life probably wouldn't have been good for me. I probably would have sought it out overly so. And I don't know if it would have been the best thing for me. I just remember in that time feeling alone, feeling very alone, feeling very like secluded, isolated. And I would spend a lot of time in the house by myself. And I really wasn't, interacting much with anybody outside of when I would go to school. Fast forward a little bit, I graduate from Thomas Pullen, and now I go to high school. And the high school that I went to was Central High School. Shout out to Central. Central was like East Side High. I'm not gonna hold you. Central was a wild place, man. And for me, it was a bit of a culture shock, honestly, coming from this 9 years of structure that I had at Thomas Pullen, where everything was pretty much the same. I knew what to expect. And going in Central, where every day could be different, a lot more violent, a lot more promiscuous, a lot more freedom. And the school was a bit of a free for all. Like the adults in the school really didn't have much control in the school. Where Central is centered, it's in between a number of hoods. And all of these different hoods converge into this one school. So there was just always something going on. For a kid like me, who was seeking something to belong to, something to be a part of, some type of attention, it was dangerous. Anything you wanted to get into, you could get into. And I found myself getting into quite a bit of things at Central that I shouldn't have been getting into. That's where I first started drinking alcohol, believe it or not, in Central High School. That's why I'm first introduced to marijuana, Central High School. It was like a level up, I'm used to certain things like this. And then I go to Central and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? And how do I get a part of that? Um, one thing that really happened to me at Central was I became a lot more violent because of the environment and things I witnessed. And, Central, you had to fight, just point blank simple, or people would try you. So I would like carry a violent demeanor just to protect myself from whatever violence might ensue. It was like, okay, if they already know I'm willing to be violent, then they'll miss me with the violence, in a way. I carried that violent demeanor around with me a lot more than I needed to, I would say. Honestly, out of fear, if I'm being honest. A lot of it was out of fear because I didn't want to be taken advantage of in that way. I didn't want to come off like a punk. I didn't want to come off like a victim, So I leaned a lot into that persona of being violent, willingly violent. But I also knew enough to mind my business. I became a bit more promiscuous at that time. I started to find my way with girls a lot more. I was getting a bit more attention than I was used to. I've always gotten attention from girls, in a sense. But I'll say when I got to Central, it went from like here to like here. And I won't lie, it kind of caught me off guard at first because I was like, oh, I'm kind of him around here. Like, I'm kind of like him around here. I played football. So, that took me up a tick. And then it was around this season where I was first starting to be introduced to battle rapping and freestyling. And I wasn't the best yet at this point, but I was pretty good. And so that, stepped things up a level. But it was really the violent persona that the girls really kind of fed into. Even though I wasn't the most violent at Central by far. I won't even try to claim that. Like, it was a lot of people at Central who were way more violent than me, like way more. But just my persona, you know what I'm saying? There was a lot of girls who kind of fed into that and liked that because I was still a cool, nice guy, but you wasn't gonna play with me. Fast forward at Central, I remember my last day actually at Central High School. There was this girl, and I don't know if the girl liked me or if she was just being annoying for the sake of being annoying that day. I don't know, but she had put her hands on me, and I pushed her down the steps because she had put her hands on me. And after I pushed her down the steps, I ran to go to my class, and she literally chased me through the whole school all the way to my class. And she comes in my class and puts her hands on me again. And this is the day I knew that my rage was a problem. This is the day I like really tapped into the fact that, dude, you might have to do something about this. Mind you, I'm like 15. Yeah, 15, 16. I think 15. Yeah, probably about 15 at this time. 15, 16 at this time. And the girl put her hands on me for the second time. And when I say I didn't feel like I took everything in me, but the way she flew across the classroom, I pushed this girl. And the way she flew across the classroom looked like I used every bit of strength I had in me, even though I know I didn't. But the way she flew, it looked like I did. I remember there was the teacher. She was the Spanish teacher. And she came and she got in the middle of them and she was like, no, absolutely not. You don't put your hands on no girl. You will not do that in my classroom and da da da. And she was like in my face, finger in my face, like she was really turned up about the fact that I put my hands on this girl and pushed her across this class, even though the girl had put her hands on me. But nonetheless. And I remember, no lie, not proud of this moment at all, but I invited that grown woman to my hands. I really did. I invited her to my hands. I did. And I was so angry and so upset that she had just off bucks took the girl's side. I was like, well, like, yo, if you want some, you can get some too. Like, what's up? Like, anybody can get it. And I remember being so furious and enraged, like security had to come get me and pull me away. And they took me to the administrator's office and they wound up calling my dad. It was this big thing. They were basically prepared to expel me. But after talking to my dad, they was like, okay, we'll suspend him for the rest of this school year and the beginning of the next school year. And so my dad had to come and get me. It was this big old thing. And they wanted to make sure that the teacher wasn't going to press charges, all this big stuff. Like, it was a big thing. It was way bigger than I really thought it was initially. I remember in that moment thinking like, yo, you're going to have to get some control of your attitude and your rage because you're wilding. Like, you're wilding. In that, the whole suspension and everything, somehow, some way, I'm able to convince my mother to let me go to Largo High School, which was our neighborhood school. Now, my mom did not want me to go to Largo High School at all whatsoever because my older brother went to Largo High School and he was a wild boy too. We'll just say that. My brother was a wild boy too, you know, coming up. And my mother was like, absolutely not. No, I don't want you going to Largo. No. But somehow, with the gift of gab, I was able to convince her to let me go to Largo. I'm like, Mom, I want a fresh start. I want to start over. I want to do better. I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to go to class. I'm going to behave myself. All these things, right? Long story short, she lets me go to Largo. She enrolls me in Largo. Now, the summer between leaving Central and going to Largo, my uncle moves in with us. My Uncle Marvin, may God rest his soul. It's my dog. He had stage 4 bone cancer. And they had given him like a few months to live, basically. And so my mom decided to bring him to our house where she would care for him until it was his time. That summer, I assumed the responsibility of taking care of him when my mom wasn't home because she had to work, my dad had to work, my brother had to work, my sister was working and in school. So I would be the one there with my uncle taking care of him, helping him up and down the steps, helping him use the bathroom, helping him bathe, making his meals, making sure he had his medicine, just sitting with him and watching TV and talking. And we shared so many like stories and just time, and we bonded so much during that time. We connected over art because he used to draw, and he would just tell me like so many stories and told me about how he, overdosed over 20 times because he was a drug addict. It was just so much, but that was my guy. And so for that whole summer, I was locked in with him. Like I would just be in the house with my uncle, taking care of my uncle. I wasn't outside. I wasn't, doing the things that I was used to doing. I was just in the house with my uncle. In a way, it was good for me because it slowed me down. It forced me to mature a bit, but it also caused me to miss all the things that I was used to doing outside. So I get enrolled in Largo, and literally a month after I start at Largo, my uncle passes away. I remember after he passed away, I felt like I had this lease to be back into the things that I wanted to be into. And boy, did I get into them. Boy, did I get into them. But I also remember in this time, the anger came back with a vengeance. Like that whole time with my uncle, I was pretty calm, pretty chill, pretty docile, just cool, calm, and collected because I was just with my uncle all day. Like I wasn't doing nothing. I would just be with him. But once he passed away and, I dealt with that. I remember the anger and the rage and all of this stuff, like it was resurfacing. And now I'm in this new school, and something that happened in this new school was I gained status and recognition pretty quickly from battle rapping, because at this point I was nice. I was nice with it, right? And so I came into this school, and literally like my first week or two, I pretty much destroyed all the top battle rap dudes that was in the school. I was giving guys the business left and right. And so I gained this recognition and this name and this status very quickly, which gave me this access to whatever I wanted very quickly. And this attention that I had been seeking, this feeling of belonging that I had been seeking, this community that I had been seeking. It was like everybody wanted to be around the cool new kid who can rap. I fed into it like all the way. I went to Largo when Largo had the Commons. And so if you know about the Commons, you know about that season in Largo High School. Like that was a different Largo High School than what they have now. Like, oh man. So the very thing I told my mother that I was going to do at Largo, I did the absolute opposite. It was like Central all over again. I wasn't going to class. Grades were terrible. I was getting in trouble left and right, getting suspended, getting in fights, all types of just craziness, right? So now I'm doubling down on everything that I'm getting outside of the house. It's like if I'm getting the attention, I'm doubling down on wherever I'm getting that from. Largo was another one of those places where anything you wanted to get into, you could get into. So smoking weed, drinking liquor, being promiscuous, being violent, whatever I wanted to do, I could do. And I did it. And I did it to the fullest. Yeah, I was wilding. I was wilding. Yeah, I was gone. I was so gone. And mind you, I still don't have my own personal relationship with the Lord. So I'm somewhere else with it,